Sometimes it's very hard to think of a cold open. Hello everyone, welcome to Nareen Savitamas. This is Nareen and it's time for a Thoughtful Thursday. I did, and one thing was, one thing definitely happened today that, you know, made me think. Yes, very few things actually do that, but there was something that made me think, and that was essentially the fact that I got new medication prescribed to me on Tuesday, so I started taking them, and I'm already seeing some of the impacts of the medications. So I got another medication for walking. I got a medication for um, pain relief. I've gotten a medication for my spasticity. I mean, there are a whole range of new medications that I'm on. Like I said, it's a grocery list. But with that being said, on experiencing, uh, you know, some of the new medication, they actually work. I mean, my leg actually stopped dragging. I could actually lift my leg, and it felt like, a new day, essentially, just because I was so unsure. At first, I was very unsure as to, why I'm not experiencing that dragging feeling or that feeling of, tripping, especially on carpeted surfaces. That was one thing. But then the other thing I realized was that my leg was lifting a little higher, and almost like it always had that ability with it. And when I think about the fact that just the day before, I was dragging my feet, I was having problems, I definitely was a little more tired. you know um, I can definitely say that yes, the medication does definitely affect, it's definitely effective in what it's trying to do. And at times, especially when you're dealing with an issue so much so that it becomes the norm, usually if that issue gets a little, improves a little bit, there is some improvement in it, you're also unsure, because I certainly was. And I mean, it didn't impact anything else. My balance was probably still as bad. um, my everything else was more or less where it was, essentially. But I did want to share that it does get, there are medications out there that can be effective, that can definitely do certain things that you did not expect, right? Like me actually lifting my leg straight up off the floor. That was such a new experience that I literally thought that it would, you know at one point, that I would probably need sort of an elastic band to pretty much pick up my left leg, or at least at the knee, um, every time I took a step, because it just wasn't lifting high enough. So you know um, there are definitely medications out there, and of course sometimes there does tend to be a lot of medications happening all at once, um, which is, of course, my case. But the one thing that you have to realize is, they're all doing part of the job, right? When you're in so deep, usually, everything, all the problems kind of become sort of a go-to as such, and as a result it becomes a little harder to separate two issues from one, because both of them happen at the same time, they're both concurrent. So that ends up being one thing that, I'm realizing why I need certain medication for certain things. And yes, I do think that, maybe it is a little too much. Maybe there are too many medications. But at the same time, I mean, just the fact that I got this little bit of freedom, I I can almost say that I can taste it right now, because the ability I just had to, lift my left leg was, in a way, like it shocked me. I think that's the best way to say it. So um, you know I'm sure you probably have had experiences like that, when you maybe had certain medications. So please do share those experiences. Please do share your thoughts, your insights, on, how I felt once I felt that it was I my leg was just a little bit freer to lift a little higher, um, so that we can get a conversation started. But of course, with all of that said, this is Naren Sai with MS. I am Naren, and yes, it is Thursday, which means tomorrow is Friday, which means that the weekend is right here, and I can almost taste it. So hopefully you can too. But of course, with all of that said, since I'm done talking, here's me wishing you a good night, sweet dreams, and I will catch you tomorrow. Bye.